And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, October 27th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com, and here are some of the news stories for the day. Authorities are offering a $2,500 reward for information about vandals who damaged a historic Indian rock art site in eastern Utah's 9 Mile Canyon. The canyon is often called the world's largest art gallery because of its high concentration of rock art sites. The first canyon site panel was recently added to the National Register of Historic Places. Authorities say vandals recently built a campfire under the site and stained the rock panel. They also used charcoal from the fire to write graffiti on the rocks. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management has partnered with the 9 Mile Canyon Coalition and local and state groups to offer the reward. A Bureau official says restoring rock art sites can be difficult or nearly impossible. Brazilian authorities say Caiabe Indians have released 7 people they had been holding hostage to oppose construction of a dam. The Justice Ministry says 5 employees of the government's Indian Affairs Agency and 2 workers for an electric company were released last weekend in good condition. They had been held for 5 days in the Amazon community of Caruru-Ozino. The Caiabe opposed the construction of a dam and demand speedier official recognition of their land in Mato Grosso state. The ministry said in a statement this week that the demarcation of the land will start soon. A Caiabe delegation will fly to the capital within a week for further negotiations. The 1,200-member tribe says the dam will harm its fishing and other sacred sites. A jawbone found in the Columbia River at Kenniwick is believed to be the very old remains of an American Indian. KONA reports the Corps of Engineers plans to deliver the bone to the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Reservation. The bone with its 6 teeth was found Monday morning by a cleanup crew on a bank of the river near a Columbia Park boat launch. Police called the Benton County coroner, who sent photos to state anthropologists. Officials determined there was no crime or missing person involved. And you remember the big controversy up there at Kenniwick over the Kenniwick man bones, the litigation that went on for years. A state-of-the-art $109 million health clinic is set to open in Eagle Butte, South Dakota next month, providing members of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe with a major upgrade from the 1959 hospital the tribe has long outgrown. More than $84 million in federal stimulus funds help speed construction of the Cheyenne River Health Center, a project on the north central South Dakota reservation that has been in works for more than 5 years. The new 138,500 square foot center will house both tribal health services and a hospital run by the Federal Indian Health Service, replacing an outdated facility that's less than 1/3 the size of the new center's size. A 32-slice CT scan machine, an ultrasound machine for diagnostic mammograms, an improved patient care system to boost disease screenings, a 10-bed inpatient hospital, a larger and more advanced emergency rooms, an improved radiology department, upgraded lab service, and a staff that will be more than double in that size will be offered there. Lawyers for an environmental group and tribes trying to block another expansion at one of the biggest gold mines in North America says the U.S. government, in concert with the largest gold company in the world, is making an unprecedented attempt to skirt 2 of the nation's fundamental laws protecting federal lands. In a case that's been bouncing back and forth between federal court in Reno and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals for nearly 3 years, the U.S. Bureau of Land Management and Barrick Gold Corporation have countered that the Great Basin Resource Watch and the Western Shoshone are exaggerating the harm the mining operation will cause to the groundwater beneath Nevada's Mount Tenebo and to the cultural and religious beliefs of Native people who regard that water as sacred. The Obama administration is arguing for the first time that it has no responsibility under the National Environmental Policy Act or Federal Land Management and Policy Act to analyze those cultural and religious impacts because they can't be quantified. And in the case of Barrick's Cortez Hills project, the government is arguing any damages from those impacts are impossible to mitigate. A day after more than a dozen protesters were arrested, members of the Unoccupy Albuquerque movement debated October 26 whether to move their protest or return to the site and risk more arrests, as some promised. In October 5th, protesters on October 5th. Protesters were ordered off the 4-week-old makeshift campsite at the University of New Mexico after the school opted not to renew the protest permit over safety concerns. New Mexico State Police raided the spot late on October 25th and arrested around 24 protesters who refused to leave on trespassing charges. The arrest came as around 400 supporters sang songs and chanted, "Cops are the 99%. A lawyer from the National Lawyers Guild said it would and intends to represent those arrested. Protesters were then pushed from the Yale Park camp, dubbed Camp Coyote, into sidewalks in the historical Route 66, where they were later met by Albuquerque police in riot gear. Native American protesters supported, while others held signs and set off fireworks. A muddy stew of black silt and water rode through a hole that was breached October 26 in a nearly century-old dam in Washington's South Cascades, marking another step in ongoing efforts to restore habitat for threatened and endangered fish in the Pacific Northwest. The more than 12-story Condit Dam on the White Salmon River is the second tallest dam to be demolished in U.S. history to be breached for fish passage, according to the advocacy group American Rivers. Its 2 turbines produced about 14 megawatts of power, enough to power 7,000 homes. But its owner, Portland, Oregon-based utility Pacific Corp, elected to remove the dam rather than install cost-prohibitive fish passage structures that would have been required for relicensing. The White Salmon River winds from its headwaters on the slopes of Mount Adams through steep forested canyons to its confluence with the Columbia River, the largest river in the Pacific Northwest. The 125-foot Condit Dam, which was built in 1913, blocked fish passage for native species of Pacific salmon and other anadromous fish that mature in the ocean and return to the rivers to spawn, confining them to the lower 3.3 miles of the river. And check out the IndianCountryTV.com site here for a couple pieces that are going up from Honor the Earth this summer in July 2011 on Saturday night, and Edward Benton Begay talking about that social powwow that's held every summer on the Lakudere Ojibwe Reservation, and also Delbert Wheeler, one of the owners of King Mountain Tobacco, talking about sovereignty and treaty rights. Those are all coming up at IndianCountryTV.com. And that is another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. Thanks for joining with us, and come back again soon.